In a sport where genetics are the most important factor to succeed, one bodybuilder had it all. Standing 6 feet 2 inches tall with a wide frame and movie star looks, Calum Von Moger stood on top of the bodybuilding world. Arnold 2.0 is what fans called him. But in November of 2017, he suffered his first major injury.
Well, I was doing a 4-plate tandem bicep curl with Chris Bumstead this time. And I think honestly I was just fatigued, or I was tired, or my body was not ready for it, and I tore it. That sucked because it was my first serious injury.
He didn't know it at the time, but this would be his first setback that triggered a series of increasingly dark and troubling obstacles he would face.
He had everything going for him.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the victims?
No comment.
Somebody needs to help this guy.
What happened to Calum Von Moger?
Some brief background on Calum. Born in 1990 in Victoria, Australia, his journey into fitness began at an early age.
I started weightlifting when I was about 14.
He and his brother used to sneak into a local gym after hours, and it was there that Calum discovered his deep affinity for weightlifting. It didn't take long for him to recognize the genetic gifts he possessed. And in 2011, at the young age of 21, he won Junior Mr. Universe. It was after this competition that he delved into the world of steroids.
I won the Junior Mr. Universe natural, and then I was 21 or something. And then I had a mentor, and he said, if you want to place in the top 5, you have to take steroids. I understood exactly what he said. So I made the decision myself that I wanted to be a champion bodybuilder, and I wanted to win the Mr. Universe. So, taking those decisions, making the decision, I decided I'm going to take them.
A few years later, in 2014, he decided to take his career to the next level and move to Los Angeles. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows.
I came over to the USA with just a suitcase, a couple $1,000, didn't know anyone or anything, went straight to LA. That place can test you. There's women, partying, drugs, all sorts of different things thrown in you, and you're in Hollywood, like all these things are thrown in your face, and it's so hard sometimes that you get the best you got gets tested, so that party eventually ends.
Initially working at GNC, he would go on to get sponsored by supplement companies over the next few years. His rise on social media and his presence in LA opened a lot of doors for him. His YouTube and Instagram following skyrocketed, and he motivated millions. Like Arnold, he picked up acting. He starred in Generation Iron 2 in 2017, and a year later he played Arnold in a movie called Bigger, solidifying his presence not only in the fitness industry, but in Hollywood.
His waist is actually smaller than his thighs. He's just gonna wipe the floor with your guy, so there you go.
Maybe I'll let them wipe my ass.
But things took a turn for the worse in 2018. He was finally recovering from his bicep tear when he suffered a shocking and gruesome knee injury.
And I wasn't even thinking anything of it. I wasn't thinking the risks really, because he knew all the safety stuff and showed me what was going on.
So here, once you get down the bottom, you got to walk all the way around?
Yeah, if you still have legs.
Now walk down a little bit. Start walking down. Oh shit! Let's go.
My knee! Alex! Hold up! I broke my knee! My knee's broken, bro!
Yeah, I felt like, like maybe 10 feet or something. The rope caught me, thank God, otherwise I'd be dead. I remember I was hanging upside down with my leg torn in half and wrapped around the rope. My weak arm instinctively grabbing the rope to untangle myself, and I tore again this bicep, tore my quadricep, and they had to drag me up the side of the cliff and then get taken to the hospital.
Now recovering from his second major surgery in less than a year, he's lost a ton of muscle mass.
All right, Calum, how much weight you think you lost from these injuries overall, you think?
Like 40, 50 pounds of muscles, yeah.
And on top of these struggles, the unthinkable happens.
Begin with
with that breaking news. A state of emergency in California as deadly fires explode across the state.
That was a pretty big scare. Very luckily, my house was all right. And the fires came right up to the back of the fence. It was even like blowing over into the backyard, but the wind changed or it just went out. But there's a lot of destruction, a lot of devastation, you know, so much damage everywhere. This year was the most challenging, the most difficult. So many things that are trying to unsettle me and knock me off my feet, but it's either gonna make you or break you.
A couple years later in 2020, Calum returned to the stage and earned his IFBB Pro card after winning the NPC Universe and Classic Physique. However, he was dealing with a nasty legal battle over the custody of his newborn child, Kairos, which was ultimately settled between him and his mother, Nicola Segura. Even though he does occasionally post pictures of his child, Calum is evidently not involved in Kairos' life. Calum has had a lifelong love for animals, but in 2021, more tragedy struck. First, his dragon lizard, Boz, died due to a 3-day power outage following heavy snowfall when he was temporarily living in Texas. And a few years later, he dealt with an even bigger loss.
And then the worst nightmare of my life, the worst thing is, oh gosh, Rex died. He passed. I lost Rex in a freak accident. He choked. He choked on a chip or something. That sent me off the rails for a few days. I completely lost myself. I still am trying to find myself.
And he decided to move home back to Australia. But unfortunately, his life would continue spiraling out of control. 2022 was a dark year for him, and drugs are likely the main reason for this. In January, he was pulled over and charged with drug possession. This included testosterone, cannabis, Viagra, and most notably, methamphetamine. Meth would answer a lot of questions about Calum's erratic behavior, from sending threatening and immature DMs,
You might as well do the world a favor and go overdose in your basement,
to face tattoos. His drug abuse was taking over his life. Calum was involved in a road rage incident in which he chased down a man with a machete and stabbed the car's tire.
Bodybuilder Calum Von Moger has avoided a conviction over a road rage clash in Altona North.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the victims?
No comment.
In court, he pleaded guilty, and a psychologist's report described his mental health as deteriorating. He eluded conviction, but his reputation deservedly took a huge hit. Man, this has to be one of the biggest falls from grace in the fitness industry. Bro, for real, dude had everything. Unfortunately, after that injury, everything went downhill. The quad injury? It was the torn bicep with Bumstead that started it. 2 careers diverging in opposite directions. And that's a good way of describing it. But on May 6th, 2022, Calum's life almost ended. After being kicked out of his family's house by his parents, Calum had hit rock bottom. He jumped from a 2nd-story window in an alleged attempt to take his own life. He ended up in ICU in a coma, fighting for his life. He made it out alive, but the injuries he sustained are significant and will affect him for the rest of his life. He described waking up from the coma as waking up from a bad dream. As if things couldn't get worse, his brother Eddie went missing.
And they had some reports in Australia and they were looking for his brother. His car was parked on the side of the road and they couldn't find him, so they had a search on for him. Well, his body unfortunately turned up, and it's sad to say that it was a suicide. His brother committed suicide.
Now in 2023, with all of this behind him, Calum is more optimistic about the future.
I have accepted where I am with my physicality, and I know that I'm not going to be or looking to be like a champion bodybuilder anymore.
He has lost most of the muscle he worked so hard to attain, and he no longer has the physique of a superhero. But he's alive, he sees the bigger picture, and seems to be drug-free after a stint in rehab. He's also got a sponsorship with Young LA, which is a big deal in the fitness industry. Although some people can see the noticeable difference in his appearance, like this user, who says he looks like he's aged 15 years in 2 years' time. But one can't help but think of Calum's life as what could have been. Chris Bumstead's bodybuilding success is what many fans had envisioned for Calum. Their lives veered off in 2 opposite directions.
Guess who?
Now 33, the trials and tribulations Calum Von Moger has gone through are more severe than most people experience in a lifetime. He won't be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he can still inspire a lot of people with his recovery. He's lucky to be alive. I hope he realizes that and doesn't waste it.